he and his wife and his 2 sons. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife was Naomi. And the name of his 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion, Ephraimites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died also, both of them, and the women were left of her 2 sons and her husband. And she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return to the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people and given them bread. Down in verse 20, it says, And she said unto them, Call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt bitterly with me. And I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then can ye call me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the mighty hath afflicted me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of the barley harvest. Thank you for standing and reading. And I thought, I got a little thought on my mind, and I began to think about this and think about it for a few days. And here in the text, like I said, very familiar. But in verse 20, Naomi says, And call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt bitterly with me. Verse 21 says, And I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. And I began to think about that, and how Naomi and her husband, Elimelech, there was a famine in the land. Conditions had deteriorated. They were no doubt thinking of their best. They probably thought they had their best interest in mind whenever they went to Moab. So they were trying to look out for number one, if you would. And but I thought Ruth, Naomi, she said that she went out full, but she came again empty. And I began to think about that. And I began to think about being full. And I thought as the services went on, I sort of questioned the Lord, is this really what I need to preach tonight? But I began to think about field. And I don't know if I can title this tonight. I'd simply title it, Were you filled or are you full? And I won't preach long tonight, but I began to think about the definition to field. And field is past tense. When you begin to talk about something being filled, then you're talking about in the past that it was filled. If you ask someone to fill your cup, and then they look at it and they say, I have filled it, then they have completed that task. And I'm not trying to teach a grammar lesson this morning because I didn't do too good in grammar. But I began to think about that past tense. And I thought a lot of people have been filled, Brother Raymond, but I thought how many of them are still full. I thought Sister Kathy was telling me, I believe it was yesterday, and Colin, he's always got to have a cup. I mean, he calls it his cup, and he always has something to drink. And yesterday, he came in and he told her he wanted his cup, and she went and she filled his cup, handed it to him. He sat down on the couch beside her, and they were doing something. He was sipping on his cup. And directly he set it there for a minute, and he picked it up, and he looked at it, and it was only about half full. And he looked at her, and he said, "Is that all you had?" And she said, "No, I filled your cup up." But he had slowly drank his cup until it became half empty. And I thought he looked and he wondered why it was not full. And I thought, how many times have we done that? We have got ourselves full of the Spirit of God. And I thought we have slowly allowed things to sip at us. And I thought we have found ourselves half empty. And I thought, it means one thing to have been filled. But it's something else to still be full. I began to think about that. And I thought, there's been a lot of things that can come along. And they just slowly began to empty us out. I thought, you take the cup and you fill it full and you don't cap it and you set it up. I thought the things of nature, the evaporation of time, and I thought that cup is going to slowly begin to seep out if you don't keep it full. I realized if it's not full and it sits for a while, things begin to stagnate, things begin to get stale. But I thought I'm talking about being full tonight, keeping ourselves full and filled with the Spirit of God. I thought, I believe it was in October of, Sister Kathy and I married in 89, and it was somewhere around October of 89, if I'm not mistaken, that I was praying around the altar one night, and I was filled with the Holy Ghost, Brother Raymond. And I thought, but there have been things that have come against me, Brother Jonathan, and that has attacked me, and there's been spiritual battles that I've came that I've not been as full as I was, and now I got the Holy Ghost. I thought, but there's times that I can get away, Brother Steve, and I can talk to the Lord, and I begin to pray and begin to commune with God. And after a while, that Spirit comes again, and I thought I'd begin to be renewed and refilled with the Spirit of God. And I thought, there's nothing wrong with being renewed. I thought, when we were kids, Mom and Dad seen fit to take Michelle and I out of the public school. We went to the Christian school, and it was a Baptist school. And we had chapel service, and the Baptists, they believe in once in grace, always in grace. But I thought, but they did understand the fact that you could still get yourself empty. You can still get away from the Spirit of God, and you can allow things to come in and cause a separation from you. You're still going to heaven if you sin, but you're just going to lose your crowns. That's why they believe. But I thought I can remember being in chapel service time and time again, and Mr. Davis would have service, and just with us kids, there was times that you could feel the presence of God come in our chapel service. And he would make an altar call, and he would ask for a rededication. And he'd want us to come. What he said is, you need to come back to this altar and get refilled with the Spirit of God. And I thought, we understand that we can get away from the grace of God. I thought, no, God will never leave us, but I thought we can get away from Him. But I thought we can come back to the Spirit and come back to the altar, and I thought we can get refilled with the Spirit of God. I thought, like I said, the first mistake that Naomi and Elimelech made was they let the circumstances cause them to leave. They looked around and they saw the circumstances around, and they saw the famine that was in the land, and they decided they was going to get up and move. And I thought, and I began to think about that, and I thought, we live in this world, and I thought we have to live here. And I thought the weather affects us. The economy can affect us. The laws of the land affect us. And I thought, but even though we are affected, those circumstances do not have to determine our course of action. I thought, and I thought, I began to think about it. I thought in the last little bit, I thought the laws of the land are affecting us Christians drastically. I thought you listen to the radio and with the things, we've got some of our court clerks and our county judges is taking a stand against this gay marriage thing. And I thought that they're being affected by this. And I thought, they got a first-hand effect. I thought, but everybody is being affected by the things that's going on around us. But I thought we don't have to let them determine our spiritual high. I thought we don't have to allow those things to get us discouraged and look around and like Naomi did and see the famine in the land and decide to take up and move. I thought, there's a lot of people, and I've said it before, and nobody, any preacher that's ever preached has said it. Because, there's a lot of people that they don't feel like they're saved. I guess you could say if they ain't shouting, Brother Steve. And, I would like to shout every service. I would like to get down, and Brother Raymond, I would like to, every time I get down to pray, I would like to just really just pray through and just feel the Spirit of God all over. But it don't always come that way. And I thought there's some people that they've got to shout. And I thought it's those people that if you watch them, I thought it don't take a whole lot to get them discouraged. They'll come to church over here for a while and they'll get in and shout. But just as soon as something happens that upsets them a little bit, they're up and they're moved. They go somewhere else. And they'll get in there for a while and they'll push while the Spirit's high. And just as soon as a press comes along and they've got to start pressing, you'll talk to them, well, the Lord has been dealing with me and I'm going over here now. And although they never get settled and grounded to help push along. And I thought the problem is just as soon as a little bit of a drought comes by, they've got to go and find the shout again. Right. It's because they're shallow. They're not full of the Spirit of God. And I thought whenever the Spirit's high and we're full, I thought it's in those times of drought that we go to and we seek God and we find us a place to pray and we seek after the things that God's wanting, that we can be refilled with His Spirit. Right. I thought the book of Romans chapter 8, verse 27 and 28, he says, and he that searcheth the hearts knoweth what is in the mind of the Spirit, because he maketh intercession for the saints according to the will of God. And we know that all things work together for the good of them that love God and to them who are called according to His purpose. And I thought, there's a lot of times things happen that we really don't understand why we face those circumstances. There's times that circumstances will arise, and we may question, Lord, why me? How about there's some of us here that are going through things in our life that we probably thought and hoped that we would never have to face. And I thought, but yet we can't allow those circumstances to bring us down. We can't allow those circumstances to deplete us. And I thought, but Naomi, as we look at this and we find that she came back and she left full. She left full of the Spirit. She had the many blessings, but she came back empty. And I thought, you say, but there was a famine in the land. And if they hadn't went out and searched for something, then they would have probably been, they would have probably died. They would have been destroyed by the famine. But then we go over and we find Boaz. Boaz was in the same country that she was in. And I thought that whenever they come back and she's empty, we find that she sends her daughter-in-law Ruth down to Boaz as the barley harvest is beginning, and she begins to go down and to go into the barley and pick up the things that was left behind. Because Boaz stayed, and I thought he was still full. He still had plenty because he was there to live through the famine. And I thought so many times we look around and we see things happen. And we begin to be distraught with the things and the pressures of life that come against us. And we wonder, Lord, why am I having to face these things? But I thought if we can stand and continue on with God. And I thought because we were once filled. I thought if we go back and we say, Lord, I was filled. But I can feel myself getting low. And I thought we can allow the Lord to refill us. I thought we can continue to stay full of His Spirit. And I thought, no, we might not always shout, but I thought I want to stay full. I thought if you take something that never does get empty, then it's probably not being used much. I thought a couple weeks ago and while I was preaching, I was talking about the truck I've got. And I thought the Saturday that I tore that truck down, Brother Ricky, I pulled in that Speedway, put $30 worth of gas in it on my way home. And I thought that $30 worth of gas is still in that tank. Because it's been sitting there going on 3 weeks now. And not back together. And I thought, but I thought if I ever begin to use it, it will begin to run down. But I thought I could go back and fill it again. And then we'll go back and fill it again. And I thought when we begin to allow the Lord to use us, I thought our cup can overflow. He said that He would make rivers of water flow from us. And I thought out of our belly shall flow rivers of living water. And I thought, and if something's flowing, then it's overflowing, it's running over, it's coming out. And I thought it's going to affect somebody else. And I thought whenever we begin to ask the Lord to fill us, and we stay full of His Spirit, I thought then we can help those around us. I hope I've helped you tonight. Just a simple thought. That's all I've had on my mind. And I thought maybe I was working on it for this weekend, and circumstances arose that it's felt my lot to try to preach tonight. But I thought, are we filled? Were we filled? Or are we full? And I thought, I want to be full of the Spirit of God. You know, there's times that, like I said, the things around me, they can affect me in such a way that they begin to deplete me. There's times that I go to work and I face circumstances, and they just for instance, I work history, and I've got a couple boys works there, and they're just 18-year-old, and and just young, first job they've ever had, and they're just a little bit on the lazy side. But if you can stay on them, they work good, but you've got to stay with them. And I was back there yesterday, and I was working with one of them, and I got a little upset at him, and I had to scold him a little bit, and I was just about half upset at him. And I walked into the office, and I got a cousin that works there, and he drives a route truck, and about the time I walked in, he bounced right up on me and was complaining about something that I had no control over, and I found myself getting a little empty real quick. And I said, I told him, listen, this ain't your day for this, and I'm not in the mood for this right now. And I just let him sit there talking to himself. But this morning, he's fixing to go home. He went on home, and this morning he came in, and I walked up to him, and I got him. I said, John, I love you, buddy. I'm sorry for yesterday. And I explained to him what was going on. He understood, but I thought, he didn't get upset at me. But it's just the spirit that I went about it at. And I thought, if I want to stay full, Sister Marcia, then it's those little things that sometimes we just have to take care of. But I thought, if we're not careful, we'll just say, well, that'll handle itself. That'll take care of itself. But I thought sometimes God just wants us to stand up and take care of things on our own. I thought sometimes when we allow ourselves to get into a situation where we do something wrong, and God says, you fix it. And I thought, well, if you fix it, then He will fill you up again. I thought, we keep a cup for Colin that if it turns over, it don't spill out. I actually keep a cup for Pawpaw that way too, for my coffee. But anyway, we got a cup, and today he laid down on the couch and he said, Mama, it's leaking. And she began to look at it and trying to figure out why his cup was leaking. And because she didn't want to lay it down and it overflow and run out and stain the furniture. And I thought, but if we're not careful, we'll do the same thing spiritually. We're not supposed to be leaking out, but we allow circumstances to cause our spirit to begin to be vexed. And I thought we allow those things to come in. And I thought, and if we start allowing vexations come in us, and it starts filling us up, then where's the room for the Spirit of God? But I thought when we begin to get those things out, then we can allow the Spirit of God to keep us full. And I thought, I want to be full of the Spirit of God tonight. Well, we've had a wonderful service. Wonderful spirit here. Sister Kathy's talking about singing about going home, singing about the things of God. And I thought before church, I thought, even our young kids know the things. We was talking to work today, and I thought, since Obama has been, I'll just say since he's been in the office of the president. I don't even like to say he's the president. But since he's been in the office of the president, we can see such a drastic change in our country in the last 6 to 7 years. Change that I have not seen in the 44 years that I've been alive. And I thought, when we see things changing that fast, then we're rapidly coming up on the coming of the Lord.
That's right.
And I thought, we sat here before church tonight, and Brother Tanner, we was talking about going to school, and he said Sister Hannah, Sister Hattie and Brother Raymond was going to Richlands next week and going to camp meeting. He said, I would like to go next year if there is a next year. And you know, why did he say that? Because he realizes that the coming of the Lord is so close at hand. And although the rapid things that is taking place are taking place for a reason. And although it's time that we are filled with the Holy Ghost and we stay full of the Spirit of God. I thought, you know, there's a lot of people say, well, I was filled with the Holy Ghost. But they never go back to be refilled. And I thought, there's nothing wrong with coming to the altar and get down and saying, Lord, renew me. I thought, you know, if I go several days and well, I don't have to go several days. It's almost if I go several hours without telling Sister Kathy I love her, she's going to start questioning me. She wants to hear it several times a day, Brother Jonathan. And there's nothing wrong, because I want to hear it too. And if I tell her I love her and she's preoccupied with something and she don't look back and say, I love you, then I begin to, you know, what's going on here? You say, well, that's, you know, no. We've been married 26 years and we're happy and we want to keep it that way. And I thought, but we got to tell each other we love each other. And I thought it's the same way with God. He wants us to come back to Him on a regular basis and talk to Him and renew ourselves and refill ourselves with His Spirit. As they come against the song tonight, I hope it helped you. And I thought, let's be full of the Spirit of God. Let's don't just get filled and be satisfied with that. Let's stay full of the Spirit of God. And I thought Naomi realized that she left out and she was full. But she lost it all. And she came back. And you said, well, she lost her husband, she lost her sons, and she had a daughter-in-law that came back with her, but she was just as empty as she was. She had lost it all. And I thought we can be refilled with the Spirit of God daily. As they give us a song, let's pray.